leave it to George Laraque to go out there and get the conversation started, because today what we're doing is we're talking about the Montreal Canadiens and a trade idea that was proposed on BPM Sports. Okay, this is gonna take a little bit of explaining here, so I'm gonna set the tail of the tape right away. We're going over onto an article on HabsSeulementFan.com because Marco Normandin went out there and transcribed pretty much what it was talked about on the BPM Sports radio show with George Laraque and Stéphane Gonzalez. The article will be linked in the description, and the article opens up by talking about the Columbus Blue Jackets. Essentially, the idea floating around is the Blue Jackets could be in the trade market and they could be seeking to acquire a forward. The article then writes this: with GM Don Waddell saying he needs to add a forward to his roster and has nearly $25 million available on his payroll, several possible options suddenly open up to him. Following this announcement, host George Laraque made a big proposal between the Canadiens and the Blue Jackets. On the airwaves of BPM Sports with his co-host Stéphane Gonzalez, Laraque tried to find a trade offer that would convince Columbus to take Brendan Gallagher and the 3 years remaining on his contract, which earns him an AAV of $6.5 million a year. Okay, before we continue with that, let's expand on that main idea first, because having Brendan Gallagher be some sort of a trade opportunity for the Columbus Blue Jackets, it would certainly help them out cap-wise. Gallagher's $6.5 million AAV salary is not necessarily cheap, and especially for the caliber of play that he provides, he's definitely not as effective as he once was. But for Brendan Gallagher, I feel like he's one of the only guys on the Montreal Canadiens that you could realistically say there's a form of loyalty that needs to be upheld here. Okay, I say needs to be upheld. No GM is forced to uphold any sort of loyalty, but I think it's probably the best thing to do, right? For Brendan Gallagher, he has been the heart and soul of the Montreal Canadiens for over a decade, and the way he plays, how honorable he is, the goals that he scores, the aggravation that he has in his game, he's totally a beast, and everybody knows that. Everybody's known that he was a pest for so long while also being a top goal scorer on the team, that even though he is now overpaid, even though he is now not in the realm of $6.5 million worth of value on the team in the slightest, even though he's coming back from, let's just say, subpar point production seasons the past few years, and especially even if he might not be one of the most important Habs players, especially on forward with the upcoming season coming in, there still is that affinity. There still is a lot of love for Brendan Gallagher. What's the reason of trading this guy away? It would only be because you needed to get rid of that money. But at the same time, are the Canadiens really in a spot where they need all the dollars available to them at this point? I could argue no. Give it a few years. Wait till Brendan Gallagher's contract expires in 2027. At that point, Demidov will be on the team, Ryan Barker will be a full-time guy, Patty Laine is hopefully back up to 40-goal form, Cole Caulfield might have already had a few 40-goal seasons under his belt, Slafkovsky might have already eclipsed an 80-point year at that time. There's a lot to build for the Montreal Canadiens in 2027 by the time Gallagher's contract is over. You don't necessarily need to do that now. And that's the entire idea that a trade for Brendan Gallagher makes me think about. I'm like, yeah, if you trade away Gallagher now, it's because you want the money now. But what are you really going to do with it? Are you going to make the playoffs in 2025? Probably not. Either way, let's go out there and read what George Laraque proposes for the Montreal Canadiens and Brendan Gallagher. He talks about the idea of trading Gally over to CBJ, and after a few attempts, he finally agreed to offer a 2025 first-round pick, the one belonging to the Flames, in addition to prospect Owen Beck, in exchange for freeing himself of Gallagher's contract and freeing up nearly millions of teams' payroll dollars over the next few years. Note that Gallagher has a no-movement clause that includes a partial no-trade clause in which he can list 6 teams where he would refuse to be traded. If you were Kent Hughes, would you be willing to make such a deal to get rid of a heavy contract like this and open up options to better invest that money in the future when the Canadiens will be competitive and will have to offer new contracts to several of their younger players? Essentially, George Laraque is saying it would be Brendan Gallagher, Owen Beck, and a first for Nothing. Nothing. Nothing? Really? Oh, I don't know about that, man. I'm sorry, George Laraque. You got a show, you got your entire thing going on. I get it, I respect it. You were a great player and definitely have a voice in the hockey media world, but Brendan Gallagher, OWEN BECK, and a first for nothing? Dude, I know Brendan Gallagher's contract could be seen as a bad deal. But is it really that bad? Oh no, I don't know if it's that bad, man. And to include OWEN BECK, who is essentially a first-round prospect because he was taken with the first pick in the second round. I mean, okay, maybe he's not a first-round guy, but, like, he could have gone a little bit higher, especially when you consider how well he performed in his Draft Plus 1 and Draft Plus 2 seasons. BECK in a first? To add on to Gallagher to get rid of that contract for free? I don't know, man. At least chuck somebody in to come back the other way for the Montreal Canadiens. If it was Gallagher a first and BECK for, like, 2 seconds, I could understand that. I could understand maybe a second and a third. Maybe that's pushing it. Maybe a second and a prospect who is definitely not as good as OWEN BECK. But to get rid of them for nothing? Hell nah, dude. Just hold on to Gallagher. Let him be in the team. Let him have an opportunity to mentor these younger guys and to allow them to exhibit their best selves. I think Brendan Gallagher, the value he brings to the ice, while it's not great, while he's never going to get 30 goals again, while he may be kinda washed, as the kids say nowadays, the value that he brings off the ice, I don't want to say you pay guys strictly for value off the ice, but when you consider the fact that he has been a Hab this entire time and he's been so loyal to the organization and the organization has been loyal to him too, it'd be kind of a slap in the face to trade away Gallagher for BECK and a first, or excuse me, trade Gallagher with BECK and a first to just get rid of him for nothing, for future considerations, right? Is $6.5 million in cap space that important to the Canadiens right now? Maybe not, honestly. Like, you got a lot of guys that are going to be coming off the books, you know. Patty Laine, his $8.7 million deal is only going to last for a few years. Same with Gallagher. I mean, this is not the time, I think, to really put all your chips into trying to make the playoffs right now. And if you trade away Gallagher, what's the intention there? Free up some money so that you can make the playoffs now? Oh, but if you wait too long to trade Gallagher away, he'll be washed, and he will not be attractive at all. Even if a team needs to get to the cap floor, they're not going to want to take him on. Okay, well, do you throw those 10 plus years of Gallagher down the drain by sending him away alongside of significant assets for nothing? I don't think so. I'm sorry, George Laraque, but I do disagree heavily with this idea. The article that we're looking at, HabsSolomonFan.com, also does have the video clip of Laraque and Gonzalez on BPM Sports on the website, so it's all going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and listen to it and read it yourself, but I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. What do you think about the idea of trading away Gallagher with a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of sweeteners, in order to get him off the team? Send him over to Columbus, where they do need forwards and they do have a boatload of cap space, in order to make it easier for the Montreal Canadiens. Is that something you would be interested in doing, or is it an absolutely no-go kind of move? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.